Hey everybody, it's Andrew Brown from the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp bringing you another video. And as you can tell, I do have a new haircut. We don't have much of a hair salon here, so my wife did cut my hair. I think she cut it a little bit too short. I feel like I'm a bit top heavy, but we'll figure that out as we wait a few weeks for it to grow out. But, you know, I'm just telling you that just so you understand why my hair is so short, and I'm sure you don't care, but I'm telling you that anyway. Anyway, what we're doing here is we're continuing on with the Cloud Project Validation tool. Now, I haven't produced a video for about 2 weeks on this, but I have been working on it. Now, I haven't been working on it full time for 2 weeks. I've been really busy in the garden trying to get stuff up before I miss the growing season. A lot of other things, preparing for future boot camps and things like that, preparing for the upcoming AWS Toronto Summit. So I've just been really busy, and we did office hours again, so that I could have done this instead of doing office hours, but I wanted to bring office hours back. But anyway, we're back here to development, and there's definitely a lot of stuff that has changed. I'm not going to really walk you through it too much unless we're just kind of like going over it. So it is going to be quite different here, but if you stick with it here and watch it, you'll understand. It'll start to make sense as we go through it. So over here, I'm just bundling installing on the main directory and examples directory. So if I go over into here, we have our pull and then we have our validate. So there's some interesting things I did with pull, and I did a lot of refactoring on this one just because I wanted it to be fast. But over here we have puller. And by the way, these files used to be integrated in the lib directory, and I extracted them out, and so they now rely on the lib directory using it here. Our Ruby extension is not installing for some silly reason. I really dislike it when that does not work. I don't know why this is a problem all of a sudden, but it does say Ruby Reborn and VS Code Ruby, so this highlighting should be working, and it's not. So I'll go over to our extensions. We'll just type in Ruby. Okay, and so where is it? Why don't I have my highlighting? Very frustrating, just a recent problem. But you see there's VS Code Ruby. That one here. So I say uninstall, maybe reinstall it. Depends on. Okay, well, I just want highlighting, so please may I have highlighting, please. And so when this happens, oh, there it is. Okay, it's back. Okay, great. And so now that we have highlighting, anyway, the point is that these used to sit in here. I extracted them out. And so we have Polar and Validator. Polar is responsible for pulling data. And so I refactored this about 3 or 4 times. Would have been interesting to watch me refactor it 3 or 4 times. I don't know. But this is what I settled on. I wanted it just so that I could easily comment out any line. Because sometimes that just makes it a lot easier when you want to pull very specific things. And so here are the simple lists, and then here are the more complex ones. And so I created this way to iterate through everything. So the way these work is it takes a command, and then the idea is that this command relies on pulling data from this other file, and it's going to pull out this attribute in it. Okay, so if we need to look at this, we'll look at them, but I'm kind of past this now. We are doing async, so this before took about 100 seconds, 120 seconds to pull the data. Now it's down to 30 seconds because we're using non-blocking functions. So if I think we did bundle install here, right? So if I do bundle install here down below, and we do rake pull AWS 2023, it's a whole lot faster. Another thing that I did change, and I made it so it had better error handling here because I was getting tired of introducing problems and not like forgetting to make this file here. So I'll just go here and copy this, and I'll paste this in here as such. Say allow. Anyway, so I'm going to go here and pull this data. And yeah, the data is going to pull a lot faster. I used to upload every single file as it went. I don't think that makes sense anymore. And so what I do is I download them all, and then we archive them, and then we upload them. But I didn't finish the uploading back and finishing that final implementation. It does upload the manifest file still, but yeah, there was a reworking there because it's a lot easier to download files and upload files when it's a single file or like a single archive. And maybe there's like an additive protection if we made an archive, because we could then password protect it or do some kind of additional security check. And again, it's your data. I don't want to put as many layers as I can for that information. Another thing I'm thinking about is that S3 bucket, probably when data gets uploaded, I'll set up a lifecycle policy to delete data over after a certain period of time. So that way, if you know that you run that tool, it will delete it at some point. But anyway, what we need to do is work through the validation tool. So I created kind of a semi DSL, so to speak. And so the idea is that I have this state file, and the state file over here, all it does is it holds onto the results of each one, and then it has attributes. It has the manifest file, and then it has attributes or properties that we might use for other commands. And so the way this works is we say, okay, use this class here. So under validations, all it's going to do is say use this class and call this function name here. The manifest automatically gets passed through via the state file because we're using that function process. So here, the state file is set up here, and then it just gets passed as an argument over here. We use name parameters for that over here. But anyway, coming back over to our networking tab, it pulls this. I feel like this part could be refactored out, but we'll come back to it later. But it pulls the data here, and then we're just doing basic checks on it. So we have one for VPC, we have one for the public subnets, we have one for the internet gateways, or should it have a route to the internet, things like that. And I was trying to do like this gradual grading. So like VPCs here, there was like scoring, but really I'm ending up with a lot of zeros and tens. So I wonder if it will be Boolean checks in the end, but I'm going to keep with this structure here, and then we'll determine afterwards. I like it when systems don't just give you a Boolean, but they give you a better idea of what's failing. But I might have to go back and rework these, because here, like, all I'm saying is select the route table with these values, but I could make it more granular and say like check these individually so we can know exactly where it fails. Because here it's doing all these comparisons, and you wouldn't know where it actually failed. So that's stuff that we could do or improve upon. But for the time being, I just want to try to get all the checks in place and work through the files, and then we can go back and touch these up if we feel to do so. But here's all the checks that I've wrote, and so the networking one is done for the time being. So this part is all for networking, and so now we are working on validation. So I'm just going to go up here, and I'm just going to write. We could even make it a function out here, so just say like def networking validations. It's up to you if you want to break them up into separate functions, but I think that it might make this a little bit easier to navigate if we do that. So we'll go up here and say, I'm just going to split this here. Sorry, I know I'm all over the place. It's been a while since I recorded something, so I'm a little bit sloppy here. So we're going to go here, self networking validations. I was very tempted to create this file, make this a stateful file, but then I came up with the idea of making a separate state file for that, and I think that was really smart because I get to keep my code very simple. But anyway, we'll go down here. This actually would be a really good cloud programming project, but it's just, it would take a lot more work for me to organize it into a bootcamp kind of thing. And that's not what we're looking for. As you know, copy and paste refuses to work whatsoever with Gitpod. At any time, I could open it up locally and avoid that problem, but I just seem not to do that. Let's go here and right-click and paste. And so the only thing this thing needs is state. So just go here and write state. Yep, that's the only thing it relies on. Yeah, and here the idea is like this one requires the input parameter VPC, so this will output it. So when it outputs it, it gets assigned to this attribute over here that should be here. And then the input value will take from there as well. It's not dynamic, so we do have to manually define the ones that we want. I could have made it dynamic, but I didn't. So we just have to be a bit careful there when we're doing it. But I don't think it'll be that big of an issue. But anyway, so that is now there. So I'm going to go and just put a self in front of it. I stopped calling the functions in their full names. Like I was before doing it, so it was like the full name of this here. But you can just do self, and it's a lot easier. So... But sometimes it's useful to know where things are or move them later, and that's why I was doing that. So we have this, and we'll say we'll have CI/CD validations. We'll say state, And we'll just do each of these at a time. Okay. So go self, CICD, CICD, validations. Okay, coming down to here. Yeah, this one looks okay. We'll pass in the state. And then we'll make a new file up here. We'll say CICD RB. I just didn't feel like doing AWS 2023 in front of it. Probably should have, but sometimes I just want things done, you know? The reason we do that is in case you're using another library that uses validations, it would avoid that naming conflict. But right now, I'm just going to leave that as is, and maybe we'll fix it later. CICD, and it's networking. We'll go back to bring this one over here because we'll probably want to compare against it. And we should have a code pipeline. So I'm going to just copy this for the time being, and we'll go over here, paste that in there, and we'll say should have a code pipeline. So the tricky thing about validating stuff is that if we look at our runs, like our actual output data, so that's the archive that gets uploaded later on. But if we go into like CICD here, mine's in CA Central, and I go down below here and we look at code pipeline, you can just tell that some of these APIs are just not very well designed. So like this, that's all you get in this one, right? You don't even get tags. And what's interesting is that you can actually tag pipelines, but it won't show you tags. You have no way to filter tags. And so it would have been nice if I could narrow down this one based on the generic tag that we set, because when we run Stack Overflow, or sorry, not Stack Overflow, our CloudFormation code, we actually tag them like with like group, CRUD networking and things like that. And here it's just, we don't have those tags. And so all I have to go on is based on the name. And so this is one of the cases where we might have to ask the user to feed in their code pipeline script, or maybe we could infer it through CloudFormation template. I was actually just thinking that's another way that we could go get it. Because right here, I don't have a lot of information. And so the first thing I need to do is grab the pipeline. But the second part is I need to understand, what's going on in this pipeline. So there is a single pipeline here, and I could make it very restrictive and say only use it that way. But I think we'll need to make it a little bit more robust. Okay, so we'll go over to networking tab. And if we scroll up here, there is this thing that I keep repeating here. But I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. Copy. Let's do this again. Copy. Right-click, paste. There we go. And so we have this data. And so this will be for code pipelines list pipelines. I almost wonder if we even need to bother with this file because, well, it has the name here, but it seems like we might just want to iterate through all our pipelines here because these actually have more information. But anyway, we'll decide that there in a moment. But there is the list pipelines, or there could be this one like get pipeline. I've yet to actually select something very specific like this yet for data when testing. We'll just do that up here for a moment. And anyway, so my point is that this doesn't have any tags in it. But what we can do is we can look at the CloudFormation templates, because I'm assuming that you are setting up CloudFormation templates. And so what we can do here is we can go on the left-hand side here and look at our CloudFormation information. Okay. And so we have stacks here. And we're looking for a very specific stack. We have CI/CD code build. What I'm looking for here is the CI/CD one here, right? And it doesn't show tagging here, but I'm gonna have to assume that you named this with its name, because again, I just need something to rely on to pull information from. And so if we get this one, the question is, could we go through? So this one is whatever stack this. The question is like, could we look at that information this way and find it that way, right? So that's not the table we're looking for, but Maybe we can. I really don't like the ability to split in this. I really wish I was using MacVim. I'm just going to scroll this over here for a moment here. And so here we have that big long thing. E011. So do we have a stack called that? E011. I'm trying to match it up on the name here because the way these work is they're supposed to use the value from the stack ID, but I'm not seeing that there. Is 631 in there at all? 6317500 is, yeah. So then where is my E0? Well, what was that one called? Sorry. Stack name. That one's called E0. Oh, it's E0E, sorry. So E0E is right here. There's a problem with this mouse. It like double clicks. It's very frustrating. Or it clicks when I don't want it to click. And so looking at our CloudFormation stack list resources here, again, I don't know why they don't give you tagging at this level. I think that's bizarre. But, or even the list, they don't give it there to you as well. But what I'm looking for here is that pipeline. So here's that pipeline, and that's what we're looking for. So I think that's how we'd have to do it. The only problem with, if we do it on the CloudFormation, then this is going to be really bound based on the CloudFormation templates. I could have made this so that the project was like, if you wanted to do CloudFormation, it was separately, but I think at this point, we're just going to stick with like forcing students to have CloudFormation in their final grading. But anyway, so yeah, we have networking there, and we want to do this one. So I'm just going to drag this over for a moment. And so, I mean, we can list pipelines, but I'm more interested in the CloudFormation stack stuff. So close this out here. The one I'm looking for is the CloudFormation list stacks. So say, well, we do want that, but we'll say CloudFormation list stacks here. I usually just call it data, but because we are cross-specifying multiple ones, we're going to give it a specific name. So we have our CFN stacks, and in here we are looking for the one that's going to map to CI/CD. That's a specific one, so we'll go over here. I'm just going to make sure there's not two called CICRD. Yeah, there's only one. Okay, so over here, I'm going to go and say select do T. This will be a stack, and here I'm looking for stack. What does this file look like at the top? Stack summaries. So we'll go here and just say stack summaries. And then in here, we're looking for stack name. I'll go ahead and copy that. Or I'll write it out because it probably won't copy properly. CRD, CICD. And so we're looking specifically for that one. And we'll just say CICD stack here. CICD stack. And if we found it, then what we want out of this is the stack ID. And so I'm going to say stack ID. And then all I want is the end there. So I'll say split on what? /. And we'll say last CICD stack ID as that. Okay. Put this down below more. Find the stack for CICD. Extract the stack ID. And then here we need more detailed stuff. So that one for the other one is called what? It's not showing up here now. But we know it's EOE, so this is over here. This is CloudFormation list stack resources. CloudFormation list stack resources underscore underscore, and then we want interpolation here. And so this will be CI/CD stack ID here. Yeah, and I really feel like this part here could be refactored out in the manifest. I know we could take this code, this get output, and then just place it in there, but I don't know if I want to explicitly have an error there. So what we could do here, I don't know, I'm a bit undecided here, but we could say, you know, payloads key. You can do has key or key. Well, this says has payload. That's all this does up here. Key. If payloads, unless payloads key exists, return that. So what we can do now is use this line here, and if it's false, it really just depends if we want to error out, because in the case there's a case where we use it and it doesn't error out. So maybe we should just make this another function. Similar to get output, but has error handling. Or you know what we could do is we just call it the same. And sometimes that's what it does. Like in Rails, if you have an interjection, it will indicate that that one will throw like an explicit error if you don't have it. Where the other one would just return nil or something like that. So in this one, it could do this. And in this one, it would raise an error. So I'll go just paste this in here. Copy. Paste. And so here, we'll just copy the contents the same here. It should return at the raise, but I don't know. I'm just putting that there just in case. And so now I can say get output with an exclamation mark here. And so that will clean that up quite a bit. And I think I actually do prefer that. I think that's okay. I don't know if that's going to cause an error because I'm not carefully looking at my code, but now we can go up here and refactor this. And, you know, I will always do things the most verbose way until I figure out whether or not we need it or not, you know? Like this. I'm just refactoring the networking one to use this new way of doing it. Yeah, you just have to make sure, you know, just before you start refactoring, always do a lot of it first, because you never know how you might want to use that code in the future. And you might be, as soon as you start refactoring, you are starting to create a very particular language, DSL or structure that might lock you in to a certain way of thinking or coding. And so, you know, you want to avoid that as much as you can. I tried to keep this as simple as possible, but as you can see, it's only so simple we can make this. Anyway, we'll go here and just keep going down here. I can make sure that has that on that. Okay. There we go. So that is looking nice and tight there. So we'll just close, we'll leave that open because we might want to reference some code from there. But over here, similar things. I'm just going to go here and so we have CN stacks here. Extract the stack ID, sure. And if there are things, if we do find that there's a common pattern, we could also move these into extractors as well. We do use extractors for just extracting out particular information, but and we use that in the polar. Again, I don't remember if we covered that much in detail, but if I go over to my extractors here, right? So these are all extracting functions. And there's no reason that we couldn't put more in here to simplify this code. But again, we need to justify it. So we'll just keep working through it till we need it. I'm just going to scooch that over there. So we have CSF templates here. This one's going to be manifest get output exclamation mark. This one is CI/CD stack. I mean, this is just stacks. It says CloudFormation stacks. And this one is, it does select it. We'll say find, load the more, we'll say resources, because that actually really is what it's loading. And then in the resources here, what we want to do, so we want to select out wherever it is, the EOE, the right value. So we'll go over here, and so this one is going to be CI/CD stack resources. Stack resource summaries, and we're trying to find a particular one. Resource, and we are looking for this one here. Well, it says the logical resource name, and there's the physical resource name. So we want the resource type, will probably be the best way to do it, because these could be named differently if boot campers did them slightly different. I'll give them some flexibility here, but this is what we are trying to match on. And so if we do this, we'll say pipeline. And what I'm looking for is its actual resource ID. Is this value here, right? So I'm just going to drag this over out of the way. And my mouse is really mucking things up. So if I'm jumping around the place and I look really dumb, it's because of that. Yeah, so we have our pipeline, and we are selecting that. We're going to go here and say pipeline. It's actually not the pipeline. This is, say, resource pipeline, just so that we can distinguish it and use the word pipeline later down below. But what we want to get here is the physical. I can't spell that, so I'm just going to copy that and paste that there. And we'll say pipeline ID. And so now what we can do is possibly use that. If we go into pipelines, I think that's its ID, MQEC, that's the one right there. And so it's always __, that's the way I defined it. I made it underscore just so it was a bit easier to see what we're looking at, if you remember. And we'll type in pipeline ID. And so that way we'll get that key. And now what we can do is say manifest get output. Could we be using Code Whisperer? Maybe. It's just, I want it out of the way right now. I just want to get this done. So we have the manifest here, and this will actually be the pipeline now. So now we would actually have the pipeline information. And I mean, this would confirm if we had the data there, then we would know that we found it. And if we go up to here, then we'd have a lot more information, right? So if we can load this file, then we definitely found it, right? So, and this might be the reason why we might not want to have a the explicit check and more the false. But we'll go back to the networking example here. And I'm just going to take this off here like that. We'll just say if pipeline, else. That's something you can do in Ruby. You can do assignment on a single line like that. Can't do that in Python, or at least I don't think you can. And I'll just copy this one because that seems to be what I've been doing lately. So we'll copy that. And I'll just go ahead and paste that on in here like this. Found a pipeline. Called CICD. And okay, and probably what I'd like to return here is the pipeline ID. Which is also its name. Name, ID. Because they call this a physical resource name up here. It's actually the pipeline name, so maybe we'll just stick with the language that AWS is using. Okay, and then from here we go over to our state. And the reason we did it through the CloudFormation template is because then it gives you flexibility with the, we're trading. It's like you either want flexibility on the pipeline name or you want flexibility through CloudFormation. But if we do it through the CloudFormation, then we're checking for the template as well while we're doing it. And so I don't mind doing that. So we'll go ahead and save that there. And so now what we'll need to do is go back to our validator and copy one of these. This is going to be calling CICD. We'll go back over here. We'll grab this here, copy that, and we'll paste that function name in here. And there is no input parameters, just output parameters. So we'll just say output parameters. So it'll be pipeline name. Okay. So I'm just gonna type clear here. I want to run the validator. I'm expecting it to pass all the networking ones, and I'm expecting some kind of error on this one just because anytime you code stuff, it's never perfect the first time around. So don't really need a comment on that, but and you know what? Like we could have made it. We could have made a DSL that was like CICD. You know, like should have, and then a code pipeline, like inputs, outputs. But you know, it really depends on how robust you wanted to make it. I don't really want to go to full DSL. The reason I don't want to do that is just in case I want to convert this to another language, like Golang or something else that's more efficient. Or let's say we are using something like Azure and they don't have a robust Ruby SDK, then I might convert this over to a neutral language that all of them work with. But I like to work in Ruby because it does make it a lot easier for me because there's a lot of flexibility in the language. And we can worry about making it less flexible later on. So great prototyping language, great language in general, but you know, if you do hit limitations, it's not too hard to port it over to another one and you get things done pretty quick. So you know, that was my logic for choosing Ruby. And the documentation is really good for the AWS CLI. But if we do Google and Azure, then I will have to rethink this because the support there might not be the same. But anyway, we'll go ahead and type in rake AWS validate. Or it's actually validate AWS 2023. And here it's saying it could not find a particular manifest JSON file. So the way that works is it always looks up the last file that was there. It's interesting that it says it's not there. We do have a manifest JSON file. This is looking up run 1868. 1868, so that is correct. Couldn't find it, eh? Looks like it's right there to me. So what if I go ahead and just... Oh, it says .zip here. Why does it say .zip on that? Scroll that open there. So there's something that's messing it up there for loading that file name. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go to the manifest. I might have a duplicate function. JSON. Archive path. Yeah. Load from file. Well, we'll go over to maybe the rake file here. Because what it does is it globs it and tries to find the last one with run on it. And I guess the issue is that it's pulling the wrong thing. Find the last file. So glob everything. Split. Well, let's look at our glob path. So the way the glob works, it says look for everything within here. And then get the last file. Why do I do it that way? Oh, okay, great. I know why. Because the contents of the, like, it's expecting only to find folders, right? But the thing is, it hit a zip file which is at the same directory level as that. So what I'm going to do is put a binding pry in here. I installed that earlier. It's just a gem called pry. I want to see if we can adjust this glob so that it doesn't return those results. Okay, so what we'll do here is just copy this. And it's going to put a / here. And I just wonder if that would limit me to folders. Okay, and we'll do dir.glob. Oops. Glob path. And so now that's doing what I want. If I go and hit up again, I'm just going to take off this here. And we'll try to glob it again. And now it's returning 2. So by just having that / we'll resolve that issue there. We'll just exit that out. We'll take out that binding pry. We'll go back and hit up. We'll run the validation tool again. We see uninitialized constant validation CI/CD. Understandable. I think we require those individually. We don't do like a mass require on those. I guess I could start doing that so I don't have to keep worrying about how to include them. So if we go down below to our CBVT, because we do that here, I could probably just copy this and do it that way. So we go here, and that's not what I wanted. That's not what I copied. We'll go here and do copy, and then right-click paste. Okay, and so here, file join, file directory, the current file. This is going to be here. So this would be AWS 2023 validations. Okay, and so that should include all those files in there. I'll just say validations path. Validations path. And this would be AWS 2023 validations. And then we have a wildcard on that. Okay, so that way I don't have to require those manually anymore. I was requiring them in the validator, I believe, up here. Yep. So I'm just gonna take that out. Pretty print, we're only using it to print out the hash at one point. Uninitialized constant validations. I mean, it gets called, I guess it depends on the order that this calls it in, so I guess that makes sense. If it was called out of order, it wouldn't know what it is. So this is kind of where we should really have our AWS 2023. So let's say AWS 2023 validations. I'm just going to switch it and do it properly, I guess. And we'll say, whoops, AWS 2023. Kind of proper, I should say. Because here we have the module up here. And then what I need is module validations. And I wish I could make a file called AWS 2023.rb and then do it that way. But we learned the other way that doesn't load properly. I'm not sure what to do about that. Maybe there's a way we can figure it out later, but I'm not really too worried about it right now. But anyway, so that would fix that issue. The only thing is that the validator for some of these commands need to be updated. So in front of these, I just have to say like AWS 2023. AWS 2023. I can't believe it's 2023. 2023. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and hit up. And we're looking better. We see a bunch of weird output here, but there's an error. Undefined method get output for, it would be for the manifest. Let's go over to the manifest. It's right there. What do you mean you don't know what it is? Undefined method get output for, and then it shows a curly here. And it just dumps a bunch of stuff. But that's a hash, so it's saying like for the hash it doesn't know what it is. That's on line 8 for the CI/CD. So we'll go back over here. Well, it's not a hash, so let's go see what it is. Manifest. Okay, manifest here. Yeah. Oh, you know what it is? I know what it is. It's because I'm using name params, and so it's passing all the results into that one, and so it's confused. So if we hit up, that should fix that issue. I didn't mean to leave that there, but while we're here, we might as well just check it. Manifest. There, now it's actually returning the object. We'll type in clear. We'll run this again. So CloudFormation list stacks not found in manifest. Did I type it wrong? Go over here to US East 1. All I can think of is I spelt it wrong. CloudFormations list stacks. Identical. Something I might want to know is like what keys it has. So somewhere here. Let's say like def payload keys. And we'll just say payloads keys. And so I just want to print that out. So let's just say puts manifest payload keys. And so this will just list them all out. So if it's there, it should be there, right? It's underscores. So that might be something that I might start to forget about. And so we could normalize that to always follow that format there. So maybe what we'll do here for the keys we can say key.2s, and we could also say g sub hyphens with underscores. If the key is a symbol, convert it to a string. If the key is using hyphens, convert it to lowercase. Okay. And I think they're strings that we set it for. And so I'll copy that and paste that over here. And so that way we could also even make this internal. So we'll just say like def format string, def format key. I'll just put an underscore to indicate that it's internal. There's nothing stopping, like I can't restrict it to be internal, but it's just a way we can do that. And so the idea is that we will then return that. And so then what we can do is just say format key. And then that way, anytime it's used, it'll be formatted. So we'll do that there. We'll do this here. We'll do that there. Here as well. Anywhere could be used. And that gives us a little bit more flexibility in our code. Now we could be a bit more strict and just make sure that they always do it right. But I don't know. If you're writing these a lot, you might end up making that mistake. So this way I can just kind of keep going along, and the person writing the tests will have more flexibility. So going here, we don't need to print this out anymore. We know that we have those keys. We'll go back and hit up. So it's saying that is not found in the manifest. Hold on, let's go back and bring the keys back. And so this is what's showing what it's found for manifest files. Now there clearly is more than just that, because we have clearly all these ones here, right, in CA Central. So why is it not loading all those in is a good question. So this gets loaded in from somewhere. What loads the manifest in? It's in the manifest file, the manifest load file. So if we go look through here, we have load from file. And so it's going to take the output file, check if it exists. It's going to read the JSON. It's going to parse it into the JSON into a hash. So this line here. It's going to extract out some metadata because we do need that information. And then it's going to iterate through the payloads. And the question is, wouldn't the payloads contain that information? Before we do that, let's actually go check what our manifest file looks like and see if it actually has that there. So I'm just scrolling through here and trying to see if it has those longer ones in there. And it doesn't. So like these things, these ones that we were doing before for the with the specific keys, they're not showing up. All these, like CloudFormation list stacks. I wonder if that's there, but just maybe once. It is. It's only here once. So clearly it's not saving it in all its different iterations or variations, and that's a problem with our poller. So we'll go over to the runner, which does the polling. And so we have that iter run function. This was one that we had here, but I ended up commenting out because the complexity just didn't make sense. But I left the code around if I ever wanted to use it again. But iter run will iterate through stuff, but at some point it adds the payload here. And so, well, that's only if they need to pull it. So this says automatically pull the other required data if not already loaded. And so, yeah, it will run its parent and then pull it there. This one's okay, that it should just be plain like that. But the issue will be when we do add payload again somewhere here, because it should get add payload twice in here somewhere. The extractor, the iterator, runner. So the runner will do it here. This will run it, and then this will do the add payload. And it's based on its file name, but its file name gets manipulated here. So when it gets to here, it really should be providing the correct value. But it's based off the command. and the command does not necessarily have the iter ID on it. So then, the question is, should the file name be used as the key as opposed, like, without the JSON, because the file name is always based off the command. We can override it whenever we want, but maybe it makes more sense to do it that way. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change it. So we'll go up to the runner here. Well, the run function, which is up here. And so it returns this data here. Actually, you know what? It's probably in the main file here. I'm trying to think about this. Or maybe it's in our puller, because it calls these functions down below and then adds it to the payload. Yeah, here. And so this is our problem right here. It's this line right here. Add payload. But if this does it here, iter run should do it then, right? Maybe it actually never adds it anywhere. Okay. Add payload, add payload. So there's one payload there. All right, so the problem is that this add payload's on the exterior here, and maybe it actually should be in the interior. And I was trying to keep these separate so that, for whatever reason, I was trying to do that, but it seems like that was a mistake. And I really should have done that in the interior, because when we iterate through it, we're never gonna be able to do it on the outside unless we return all the results and we iterate through it. Unless that's what that command does. What does this return? It actually does return all the results. So, yeah, I'm not 100% sure about this, but what I'll do is I'm just going to pull specific is fine, but I'm going to go down here, and this obviously returns results. So I'm going to go results, and we'll just say results each do results. Still not sure if I want to put that internally, but we'll find out later on. And then now that will actually get added to the manifest. Only problem though is this command is not specific, and so really what we want to have is the updated file name. But the file name at this point is not additive. It's done internally in here. And the results probably returns the file name. If we go up here for a moment, to this point, it does return output file. We could redundantly add the identifier for it if we want, again in here. Like to say like key or something. Like ID, we'll just say ID. And we'll just add it in again. So somewhere in here, we have the file name. That's all I care about is the file name. So we'll go here and we'll just say ID equals file name, substitute the JSON here, and then that will be our ID. Okay, and so then when we get this back, we can just say result ID, because apparently we do it that way. And maybe that will provide more robustness for us. We'll go back here and just say result ID. The only thing I don't know is we call it in here as well, so we might want to change it there as well. Payload add, or add payload here. So it says data key up here. That's probably fine as it is. Well, I mean, we have the file name right there, so maybe we could just do the same thing. We'll just say ID equals file name sub JSON. Yeah, maybe that's what we'll do. Don't know if I think it's the best thing I did here, but I did it and it'll get it to work. So sometimes that's all that matters. That means we'll have to run the polar again and see if we get better results. And hopefully we didn't introduce any errors here. So just say polar pull AWS 2023. I'm kind of getting tired of writing 2023 every time. So I'm going to go over to rake here. Default rake command. And in here, in namespace. Can we do that? Well, in any case, what I'll do to keep it simple is I'm just going to name this to task, because we can always namespace it later. But right now there's only one project, so I'm just getting kind of tired of writing that every 2 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And then we'll do that for this as well. So we'll just say validate. And it's this one that messed up. There we go. There we are. Now I can just do rake and validate. Okay, let's do a regular pull here. Fingers crossed. It's pulling. Pulling. Pulls pretty quick though. It's nice how quick it pulls. Like here, what it's happening is it's now doing them all in parallel, and so it's waiting till I guess they all catch up. Whoa, they didn't like that. Undefined file name. So we do have a problem here. Runner 49, polar async. What's the problem? It's right here. Runner line 49. Oh, you know, it's not called file name, is it? It's called a tribs file name. Sure. So we'll just say a tribs file name. Okay. I'm going to go over to our junk data here. I'm just going to go ahead and delete the user folder. Yes. We will run this again. Scrape. It's annoying. Oh, well, we do have to, sorry. To do this, you're supposed to do this like that, right? So that's definitely something we need to change. Is that a problem anywhere else in our code here? Back to our polar. Okay, we'll try this again. We'll pull again. Fewer errors, that's good. Undefined local variable or method results for polar class on pull specific 288. Well, we got to spell it right, I guess, for it to work. Results. Same issue. Okay, we're going to go back to here. I'll just delete this folder. Successfully uploaded just the manifest file. We'll run it again. No implicit symbol into conversion for pull specific line 289. Why not? Results. push, payload key, and then result. Payload key. Why do we do it that way? Seems like we were trying to do something there and we didn't do it. But I'm just going to change it, whatever we were doing before. Just change that there. And because now we put the ID internally, that's probably what we're doing. We're working around that problem before. And so this will probably now work. Fingers crossed. But yeah, the great thing is once we get through this boot camp, I'll have a very robust tool for future gradings, beginner boot camps, intermediate boot camps. I can modify this to do like intermediate checks as well. I've been thinking about that in the back of my head, but first, again, this is not the first time I've built sandboxes. It's like the third time, but just trying something a little bit different here to, see if I get more flexibility for future sake stuff. But yeah, this seems to be executing things. There we go. And now we can go over to our manifest file. Let's go and refresh this here. Expand that. We'll go to the second last one. We'll open our manifest file. And let's see if we have some of those specific ones in there now. There we go. Yep, we do. Okay, great. So that's going to be good because now we'll be able to identify those individually. So improve manifest to include specific keys for specific resources. I'm sure we're doing more than that. I'm just going to go grab a glass of water and I'll be back in a second, okay? All right, I'm back, and so yeah, now we can pull out specific files, so hopefully that will be great. I'm going to make my way over back to our validator, where we were having this. Well, we need to actually go back to the specific code for the validator in the CI/CD here. Yeah, so it should just try to pull that. So we'll go ahead and hit validate, or not pull, but validate here, and hopefully it works this time around. Undefined local variable or method CI/CD stacks resources. 4 should have a code pipeline on line 18. Sure, it should be lowercase. Run this again. And yeah, so it says should have found this, that, etc., etc. So we can see that why is it listing all these out? We must have like a put somewhere that we left in there. All right, we'll worry about it later. But anyway, so we can see these ones, right? And this one here should have a code pipeline. It's marking it 0. Failed to find the pipeline via the cloud stack formation. And this is where I talk about where, like, how did it fail? Where did it fail? We don't know because it doesn't really show us where. And I mean, this is no different than online sandboxes, but it would take some architecting to make these a little bit more verbose. But what happened is that it did not find this particular file, right? So it's saying, hey, we looked for this, we didn't find it. So let's go to the left-hand side here, and we'll look at our actual manifest file. So this one here, and I just want to look for code pipelines get. Oh, doesn't show anything. Code pipelines. Oh, you know, it's probably code pipeline, not code pipelines. That's probably the reason why. So go back and hit up. And now we get a 10. So now it shows it there. But again, you know, we can make this tool better, and we will make this tool better. But right now, we're just trying to get as much checks in as possible here. So this one is now done. What we'll do is go over to back over to our validator here. And so we need our next function. So this one will be state process with a GitHub source. And I don't know if that's exactly something that we can look for, but let's go take a look at what we actually can see now that we can grab our specific pipeline here. So if we go to our outputs, to our runs, to our global here, I'm looking for our should have a code pipeline. So this should be somewhere here, should have a code pipeline. Or I mean get, code pipeline get. CA Central, sorry. And it's this one, we only have one, so that's fine. And so what I want to know is what source is it using? And we're just really checking those 3 steps, right? So we want to see what the source is. We want to see what the build step is. We want to see what the deploy step is. Okay. So what we'll do is just scroll this over a little bit here. And we can see that we have that. So we'll have, should have a source from GitHub. Should have a build stage. Should have a deploy. Okay, and we'll write those a little bit better because we should be very specific when we're saying these. So like the GitHub one, what I care about is what repo it's connected to, right? And so here we can see the repo, full repository. And so that's what we're going to want is the full repository ID. So I'm going to go back over to our Polar. And or not Polar, but our rake file. And here we have well, this one has general and specific params, but this one doesn't. So this one has general params and specific params. So maybe I'll have to move that over. This is something I've abstracted out earlier so I have more flexibility between general and specific. So I think these are basically identical. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's one difference from here in this top one. It's probably just the output path. No, it is. What's the difference? Payloads bucket? No, they almost look the same. Go up here for a moment. Copy. Paste. Not what I wanted to copy. We'll try this again. Copy. Paste. 1, 2, 3. Was it project scope, run, UUID. User region's the only different thing. Okay. And you know what? We probably might want to check where certain things are in particular regions. That might kind of matter. But the idea here is that we do want to use the same general params. Now we could do this on the outside, since we do seem to be using it for more than one function. But if we do want to have other tasks, we might not want to load it that way. But what I'm going to do is just copy this here. And this is slightly different because this one actually loads its run ID from the last one. So I'll go here. And I'm just going to change this to be the run UUID here as such. And so now what I'll do is go down below and do general params. There are some programming languages that will have, I can't remember what they're called, structs or something, or, I mean, I'm saying structs, but the point is that they'll, so interface, they'll have an interface. So they'll have an intermediate object where you can define all the inputs and outputs, or like what you want the parameters to be passed in. And so TypeScript's really good at that. Ruby's not, but you can just create an intermediate object and that serves the same purpose. And that's what I did. So I wouldn't say Ruby's bad. It's just that they don't have an explicit object for it. Whereas it's kind of baked into TypeScript, some advantages of those specific languages. But now we can have general params and then specific params. Okay, and then here, what I'll do it on the outside here, just like the other one, specific params. And then we can go up here. Oh, we actually have specific params there. So maybe I'll go over here and do the same thing. because then it'll validate the inputs, right? So, but that's for the polar. So if I go over here, it's saying that it expects these parameters to be there because there's actually validation on them. We brought in active model to do validation. And I guess we could just have them on both, I suppose. That's the other thing, is that we don't actually specify here for the other one the user region, but I actually did put it in there now, so I guess it is there. And so we could make this identical, or we could make like different parameters for the other one. But my point is that we don't use, like, we only need to use domain name up here, and then one down below here we don't need to use. So I'm gonna break this up and say just like polar specific parameters, and then validator. The only problem is that we do have those called polar and validator, so that might be an issue. So I'll just go here and just say validator polar. That will avoid that issue here. But we have to go back up here and then add in module specific params. Okay, and then scrolling on down here, now we can just separate that out. So we have specific params here, and we'll just say polar. So will be validator. And this is going to be very similar. But instead of just the naked domain, we're going to also have here the GitHub repo. And so this one here, GitHub repo, validates presence, validates GitHub repo, presence is true. I don't know what kind of restrictions you have on that. I think that format of GitHub repo names. So I don't know. All I know is like name / name. So I don't know if I'd be, if there's like foreign characters that I'm not used to that might be present that are allowed to be there that might get excluded. So I'm going to leave that alone and not do very complex validation on that. But we'll go here and just say GitHub repo. GitHub repo. Name. Probably be good if we provided examples. So like, I mean, we don't have to hard code this stuff, so I guess we could just start extracting these out into nvars. There's no reason not to. So we'll go here and just say naked domain name. We'll have GitHub full repo name. Okay, so it's going to be Omen King / whatever mine's called. And then I can just do that here up here. So we'll just say naked domain name. For that one. Same story for the one up here. And then we go down below here. Full repo name. All right, and so now those will be those two values passed along, and so those will be accessible to us. And then the validator needs to be changed around to accept both those. And we'll go pull the polar to see how that looks. So the polar does this. So it's pretty good. We'll just copy that in, copy, and then paste. And then we can just go ahead and, I think this only takes two parameters. Let's go ahead and copy that, paste it in as such. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. We'll go here and we'll paste this in again. And we don't need that twice. So bring these in, indentation level in. It's almost like my indentation got messed up. Maybe it didn't, and it was just always like hugged like that for some weird reason. Maybe it's just this function. Also, this one's not correct anymore. We'll just copy that and paste it in here again. Okay. So scrolling back up to here, we have general params and specific params. So now we have to just indicate that here, general params, general params, general params, general params, super fun, general params. This validation was here before because we didn't have that specific object, and I guess that now replaces it, eh? So we can go ahead and just delete this out. This is actually useless. General params here. That's fine. And there's just state after that. So yeah, there's only two files that hold state. It's our manifest and our state file. Is that an error or is it just a space? We don't know. Doesn't look like there's a problem there. But anyway, so that should simplify that. So we do need to get in the specific parameters. We could pass that into our state and say just like specific parameters. I almost wonder if we should have grouped these here in another way. Oh well. Something else to think about later. Anyway, so now we should have a way of accessing those specific params through the state file. So if we go back to CI/CD, our concern was that we needed to grab that value. So I'm just going to close off a few things here so I can see what I'm doing. Well, I do want that open, so maybe we'll just close this off for now. This tab. Just because these checks kind of get long, I'll just do that so I can see what's going on. And we'll go back to our validator because that's the thing that tells us what the next functions are called. Grab this one here. I'll go and paste that in like that. Def self manifest like that. And we'll type in end. And so this one, oh, there's that payload keys. It's just being printed out there. So here, what we want to do is load in specifically this one here. Okay, and in this case, we do want it to error out probably if it's not there. The pipeline name is defined in our specific param, so we can get that by doing, well, it passes the manifest, but doesn't necessarily pass the specific params. Interesting. I say interesting because then I have to go back and update a bunch of stuff. So that's fine. We'll just do that. So we'll say specific params like that. Specific params. Because we only have the 2 there. But for this one, we'll have to do a few more. Not a big deal. This is what I was saying, like, you know, so you have like VPC ID and IWD ID. We could have made them a bit looser, but I guess the thing is that I think it's fine. Anyway, we'll go here, specific params. Okay, and so in order for this to work, we'll have to go to our state file, and in our state file, we do assign the specific params now, and we want to just make sure we pass that in here. So up here, we'll just do that here. When we initialize this, I'm just going to say specific params and give it a curly like that. It actually is an object, so I'm just going to say null. Or nil or null. So now we should be able to access those. So that's great. And so what we'll do is go back over to our CI/CD here. And we will go into this second section here where we have pipeline. And for the pipeline, oh, sorry. So we'll say specific params. Well, the pipeline name is not specific. This is pipeline params here. But we are going to need it for the GitHub repo full name here in a moment. But this pipeline actually would be something we want to pass in here. So pipeline name. And if we go back to our validator over here, it has outputs of pipeline name. No, this one, that would be its inputs. So we say input params. So that way we can access the this one from that one, okay? So that will get our pipeline here. Then we need to go look at the actual pipeline file. It was open here a moment ago. I guess we closed it. So we'll go back up to our outputs here and into our run, into our CA Central, down below into wherever this is. This is for this file here. And it's under stages. So in our pipeline, we're going to do pipeline. And from there, we want to go to stages. And then from here, we want to select a specific stage. Now, could there be multiple sources? Probably. Well, these are named specifically that. So I think I actually named them that, eh? So let's take a look here. Or maybe I didn't. Let's go and check. So we'll go over to our AWS account and find out. So we'll just sign in here. AWS Bootcamp AB, Andrew Brown. And we'll paste that in here. And I'll get my MFA code. And I'm just going to go over here. Okay. And now that I'm in here, what I want to do is make my way over to Code Pipeline. And encode pipeline, yeah, it says source, build, deploy. I don't think we named those, right? So if we go here, can we? Like we don't, can we add another stage? Oh, we do name the stage. So my stage here, 1 second here, add. Yeah, we do specifically name that stage like that. So now the application source. Yeah, so maybe we'll do it on that because I don't think we named these. Well, this is named. Build a container image. Edit stage, add action group. My action. Yeah, we do name that. So I'm just trying to find a way to, again, I'm trying to avoid locking it down to specific names because if people name them differently, it's a different story here. But what we're looking for is this here, which is CodeStar source. Actually, no, we're looking for, yeah, we are. We're looking for CodeStar source connection as the provider. So in this here, we have stages, and each stage has something. We're really going to only have one source, so I'm just going to... and also, this is in the order that they appear, so we are expecting the first one to be the first thing that happens, but what we'll do is we'll say find. This will be source action. We'll say do stage. And for these stages, we're going to iterate through that. So say stage dot find again, do action actions. Could this have empty actions? I don't think so. And so from here, we want to find the one where the action type ID equals that. And actually in here, then it's going to be provider this. I don't have to say like that the owner is AWS because it's always going to be AWS in this case. So here we'll find the source CodeStar action. And then from here, well, hold on. This is going to return. What would this return here? Good question. Let's do a binding pry here. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to return. I'm hoping it just returns the action, but I could be wrong here. So I'm just going to also comment this out. Hopefully we don't have any errors from prior. We'll go and do rake validate and try this again. And line 110, it has an issue in networking. We'll go over here, line 110. I think it's because we were expecting this here. Hit up again, we'll try that again. Issue on 110 again. Oh, it's in the front, that's why. Try this again here. Naked domain can't be blank. No, naked domain is invalid. GitHub full repo can't be blank. The reason why is when we copied our nvar over, we didn't actually copy it over into this file as well. So this is example one. I'm going to leave it in example one so I don't have to constantly copy paste it in here. I'll just paste that in here like this. And we'll go back and hit up. And pipeline keyword name is missing. So we'll go over to CI/CD here. Well, I mean, should pass it along, right? We'll go back over to our state file here. We'll scroll up. Pipeline name shows up here, so it's definitely there. It's not like it can't have the ability to assign it. But what we'll do is go back over to our validator. And so we have pipeline name there. So output params, input params. Missing keyword on line 30. Huh. Let's go up here. You know what it is? Maybe it didn't get passed back. Let's go see here. Yeah, it says pipeline ID here. Okay, so we'll go back and hit up. I mean, that definitely was a problem, but pipeline name, pipeline false. What is the issue here? Because it's here, but it gets passed here. And so I keep thinking that maybe it's not getting the name for some reason. Missing keyword, pipeline name. I'm just trying to think like at what point to debug it. We could put the name out here and just, well, I mean, the next one should fail, right? Puts pipeline name here. Let's see if it actually outputs that name there. It does. So it definitely is getting pulled. And then from here, it's definitely supposed to pull it out. It's outside the result, so it's not inside the result, which would cause it an issue. So it really should be assigning it. The only way we would know is if we went over to the state file here. And it'd be these output params. So here we should see it doing its assignment and see if it works. Notice that it's not assigning anything to the output param, so it's like as a pipeline that doesn't exist there. Oh, these all say CI/CD. Oh, you know what? This doesn't make sense because we're actually up on this function here. We haven't done these other two yet. Right? These were defined later on. That's our problem. So there isn't really a problem. It's just the problem is I'm writing the code in the wrong space. Okay, so we'll go back and hit up. And it says pipeline not found. Failed to run AWS validation, should have a source from GitHub because pipeline was false. And so really where it should error out is not here, but it should actually error out somewhere else. Well, why is that empty? Because it actually did print out before. So we'll go back over to CI/CD here. Oh, you know what? We just call it pipeline name like that. Because we're looking at another place. We can grab the pipeline name somewhere else. So we're just actually doing that wrong there. So that's just pipeline name. That will be false there. That will fix that issue right there. Okay. Well, actually, why wouldn't that return it there? 1 second. I'm not even sure where this is. Oh, that's later on. I'm going to go here and do binding pry on this. And I'm just going to type in pipeline here. Oh, it's just pipeline. That's the reason why. So we go here, and this is just, we'll go back and change it back to what it was. Pipeline. We do have it up here, but I'd rather grab it from the file. It's still blank. Pipeline. Oh, it's lowercase n, that's why. Okay, we'll hit up. This is somewhere else. So if we go back over to our CI/CD, down below here, we wanted to see what it returns. So that's fine. So we'll say source code star action. Unless it's doing that somewhere else. Yeah, we still have that one up here. That's why. We'll run this again. I'll try this source code star action here. And we're getting back both its source and everything else. So the thing is, I just want the interior one. Well, I mean, it did bring back the correct option for us, right? So I could just do this and say like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really want the rest. We could just do it this way. So found. I'll just put this here. So if found. This is kind of a bit of a cheating way of doing it, but I don't feel like figuring out another way to do it. Source code star equals action, and that way we'll get the action, eh? And then I can just hit up here. Whoops. Try this again. Say source code star action. Yep, that's better. And so now I can go here and we'll just say so source code star action, and then we want configuration. Here. And so I do mine on prod. Yeah, you should have a prod branch as well. So we go here and I'm going to go here, and what we want to see here is branch name. And then we have conf full repository ID. Okay, and so this one should be prod. I really do want you to name it prod. If you didn't, we're going to find out soon enough. And then this one's going to be what we had before here, down here, right? Like the specific params. Okay. And so if those two are there, then we know that it's set correctly. So we'll go here and Go up here and just say found, like action found or action valid, right? So if action is valid, else end. We'll grab these. I know the score has been kind of useless right now. It says 0 and 10, but maybe it'll be useful later. Found an action found a code star source action for prod, for branch prod, for the repo at, and then we could just take this and say, I'll just go here and just say GitHub. It's a bit shorter. GitHub. Okay, and so that's going to be for that check. And that will return back results. Now, do we need any kind of output back from that? Probably not, so we'll just take that off of there. Okay. So that's that one. And we'll type exit here. We'll type in clear, and then we'll just hit run validate here and see what we get as our results. And we have a 10 for the code star action. So going pretty good so far, but as you know, there is a lot more checks. So we'll just keep working our way through it. But, you know, as long as we don't have to do too much plumbing, but it really has to do with, like, also, you know, what limitations do we have with the JSON. But anyway, we'll go here, and these other ones should be a lot easier to do. Okay. Go to the top here. And so we're grabbing the same thing. This also will need the pipeline name, so we'll have that as well. This one's a little bit more different because if we go into this one here, this is for the build phase. We are looking to see that it is using code build. Code build. Like, even if the other thing is, like, it might have a code build step, but how do we know that it's actually building out an image? That might be a little bit harder to figure out. We'd have to know what the build spec YAML does, and we'd have to analyze it and see if it actually did that. So that might be something that we could do, but we'd have to have access to the build spec YAML. To get the build spec YAML, it does get uploaded, so we could download it from their S3 bucket and analyze it that way. I don't know if I want to go that intense right now. For now, what we'll do is we'll just make sure there is a code build here. I mean, we could check some of its other configurations maybe. It does show the project name, so that is actually useful. So we can go here and grab the project name. So we're going to go here and grab some of this. And we're going to say build action. Very similar. But here, the provider that we're looking for is code build. Okay. And from here, we'll say build action. So we can just specifically find that one there. And so now that we have the build action, we can look into its configuration. And we'll just say configuration project name. And so now we have the project name for code build, and so maybe we can go look at that in more detail. So down below here on the left-hand side, I'm just looking for where we pulled code build information, if we even did pull it. That would be under, where would that be under? I don't know. Let's go look at our puller. Code build list projects, code build list builds. Oh, over here, okay. Code build list projects. Right? Not that helpful. Code build list builds. Yeah, I need something a little bit better than that. Okay, so we'll go over to AWS CLI. We'll go to our CLI reference. We'll go to version 2. We'll make our way over to code build. We can do that by just going to home, actually, up here. And we'll search for code build, because we definitely need to know more about them. List projects, list builds. Like, how do we get more information about the configuration of it? Because like one thing that we do with this project, with the builds, is that we have to use a particular type of image and such. Batch delete builds, batch get builds. What does this have? Yeah, maybe it's this, batch get builds. Even though we're not actually doing batching, or maybe it just means batch another way. So here, what does it want? Is this just the better version? The names of the arms of the build project to get information. I must be you cannot specify a shared project using its name. So we have to provide it, or what? So we'll go back over to here and we'll say AWS code build batch get projects. Does it just return all of them? So no, it needs the names of the projects. We'll go names here, and we'll go back over to our projects. And I'm just going to grab this one and see if it gets us actual information that's useful. We'll go hit enter. Well, what is it? What does it want? The names or ARNs of build projects. Okay. That's the name of the project, so what's the problem? Do I need double quotations around it like this? Can I get it like this? Oh, you know what? Maybe because it's defaulting to the wrong region. CA Central 1. There we go. So we go here. Source, artifacts, cache, environment. Yeah, this is actually useful information. And here I'm just specifying one. And I guess you could batch them. I'd probably do them individually just so that the files are easier to manage. And so this is something we're going to want. So we'll go back over to our puller. We want this as a specific resource. This is not global. This is going to be in our primary region. Code pipeline. I was kind of doing this alphabetical. So code build would be... Is it alphabetical? Because that doesn't look right. Well, anyway, whatever. I'll put it right in here. And so I'm just going to go ahead and paste that in here. I just want this just some of it here so I can see what I'm doing. So go ahead and grab this. And the command here is batch get projects. And this one relies on the code build one. Code build list projects. So we'll go here and say code build list projects. And what we want to get out of that is the project name, I believe. So just say project name. Okay, and so now we have that specific one there. So that's great. We now need to make our way over to code build. So we'll say code build here. And that is under the commands. And so I'll go down here and do code build. This is code build batch get projects. I guess I'm supposed to say code build in front of it here. Code build like that. And so now we can just go ahead and cut this command here and paste it in here. We'll go ahead and grab this as such. This requires names. So go here and do names. I'll just empty curlies on that. And so this is where we're supposed to have our names. Only really want to have one name, but I'm going to treat it as if there's multiple, I suppose. Actually, no, I'm just going to... Yeah, what should I do here? Should I break them off into individual files, or should I... Yeah, I kind of want them as individual files. So then I'm just going to say name then, which already does say, and we'll say names for the name. Then we need the extractor, so we'll go over to our extractors. We don't have one for code build yet, so just go here and type in codebuild.rb. We'll grab ACM's example, and we'll go back over to this one here. We'll paste this in here, and I'll just say code build. And the way this works is we always grab the first part, the command, yep. Or actually, no. We grab this, and then underscore, because it's based on convention. We told it to do that in our code. And then we can go here and just say project name. And I mean, it could have filters. This one doesn't, but some might, so that makes sense. And then we want to go take a look at the data, which is very simplistic for this one. List projects, list builds. And this one is simply data, projects. And that's it. But we do have to return it as a structure, so we still will have to do this here. And so this will be project name. And this will just be project name here, like that. And same thing here, project name. Project name. Okay. And so that should extract out the data that we need, assuming we haven't introduced any bugs, which is not too hard to do. So I'll go here and just type in clear. Whoops. Clear. And we'll do bundle, exec, rake, pull. We could just do rake pull. I don't know why I keep writing all that other stuff. There's an N missing in code build. Which one? Commands. I'm clicking on it. This is extractors. Oh, sorry, yep. Over here. Great, and we'll hit up again. Fingers crossed. It doesn't take too long, so I don't mind pulling the whole thing, even though it takes 30 seconds. Or however long it takes, I don't know. We didn't look at the runtime last time. It might have been slower now. Before I was tracking in seconds, and I changed it to milliseconds so I can exactly see what's happening here. So the last one here took 43 seconds, so a little bit longer. Anyway, we can only optimize these things as much as we can, right? So I am seeing an error occurred. I think those ones are superficial ones. I'm not really worried about them. But this is the one that I actually do care about. So task may have ended with unhandled exception. I really just want to test out this specific one. I really did wish that we had a way of like saying, and I am kind of rebuilding respec or build RSpec in a bit of a way. The problem with RSpec is that the payload doesn't come out as a JSON object. I don't like the data structure of it, even though those validation tools are useful in some regard. But it would be really nice to be able to go here and say like only run this and say true, right? And then I could just not worry about all the other ones. But yeah, I'm gonna scroll up here, and I'm just gonna comment these out for a second. Begin. Rescue, or end, sorry. Actually, these are, we want to ignore these as well. There we go. And where's the code build one? Right here. I'll just bring that up to the top here so I can see what's going on. And I'll scroll up here and see what its problem is. Undefined method code build list project underscore underscore project name for this one. Well, I mean, we made an extractor for it, so it should just load it in. Paste that above here. Whoop, I did not do that. I did not want to paste that. I just wanted to right click too. We'll go ahead and apparently I can't copy that, but this is code build list projects underscore underscore project name. It definitely is here. It's definitely lying to me. Undefined method. Oh, I think for the extractor, we probably still, yeah, we still manually do it like this. Then I could make some dynamic code to whatever, you know. Or, you know, we could just like not even use this namespace here. I don't know. It's the way I wrote it. There's always things we can refactor or change if we don't like them. And so I just want to make sure there's no error there this time. I don't want to ran all these. I thought we commented those out. Wrong number of arguments for the runner, for the sub. 1 for 2. Runner.rb, 148. Yeah. Okay. Try this again. False, false. Codeless pipelines, pipeline name. I'm not really sure why it's failing on ones that it never failed on before, because now it's failing on code pipeline. And we're really only interested in this one here. I'm going to go down here and comment these out. There we go. So now it should only run this one. Undefined method, square braces for false class. Code build line 8. Let's go take a look at that. It's just projects. Data projects. Line 8. Okay. Finding pry here then. Data. Data's false. Why is data false? Should have pulled the other one, right? Back here. Look at our latest run. Data's right there. Data's right there. You're telling me there's no data. The data's right there. It's false. Why have all of a sudden is it false? Data, false. So that data gets passed in the iter function. So we go back to our runner here. We have itr run in here. And so the idea is that the data, they get it from here. And here it's saying output is false. Now it uses the data key to grab it. And so the actual key that gets set is the file name. This here, right? So specific params, general params. There's that file name here. Then there's the general params file name down below here. Do we use that other file name anywhere else? I just don't want us to make a mistake here, so we'll just say like parent file name, parent file name, parent file name. We'll go here and just say parent ID. I just don't want to get these mixed up, so parent ID like that. And so maybe that will fix our issue there. No such file or directory. Okay, so now we have a different problem on the manifest. Oh, sorry, were we validating by accident? No, we're polling. Oh, parent file name is now the problem. Well, where did this one come from? Because this was just called file name a moment ago. We don't see it up here. Oh, it's here that it gets extracted out. Data key. Oh, then all we do is add it back in, eh? So parent ID, and then down below here, we'll do the same thing, except we're not subbing that out. Well, it doesn't matter because it should normalize it, right? Yeah, I think we wrote it so it's smart enough to normalize it out, and then we don't have a problem. So it's just data key then. Data key. Okay, we'll try this again. Now we'll try data. Still false. It's still false. Why? Why is it still false? Let's put a binding prior right here. Okay, data key. Code build list projects. Looks good to me. Let's load that data. False. Manifest keys. Let's see our keys. Payload keys, sorry. Has a period on it. Okay. Let's just take that off then there. There we go. Actually here, I mean, we do that. We could just, again, add the payload key here like this. Data key like that. That's all it is, really. So there's no reason for us to constantly change it. Clear that out. We'll try this again. Data. Now we're getting data. Great. Okay, great. So we'll go back and clear that out. We'll just do that. We'll do rake pull. Do we get data here now? Yes, we do. Good. Looks great to me. Run it again. Undefined method code batch get projects. Line 33 for runner. Undefined method code build batch get projects. Did we add the commands to our commands? We probably didn't. Oh no, I mean it would have been added already. Code build batch get projects. It's spelt wrong. Run this again. Missing keyword name. In this case, it's project name. Okay. Try this again. There we go. I'm not remember sure why this output's like that, but that's fine. We must have put a put somewhere. I don't remember where this puts is. But anyway, what we'll do is now go take a look at our data. We'll check the last run here. CA Central. Now we're getting batch. Now we're getting data that we want. Great, this is perfect. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just delete this folder here. Delete, where are you? There you are. And we'll type in clear. We'll do bundle install. I don't know why I'm doing bundle install. We don't need to do bundle install. But we'll do a rake pull. But once we fix our puller. So we'll go back to our puller. We'll take this out. We'll take this out. We'll go all the way to wherever the top is here. We'll take that out. Brings back all our stuff in. Please, please still all work. Because we are changing things, right? So, you know, it's you never know what's going to... It's just rake pull. Fingers crossed that it will work. Line 216, unexpected equals 216 here. Sorry, I guess I was supposed to get out of there. And we'll try this again. Fingers crossed, no errors. Because it was erroring out on like code pipeline before. Which it wasn't before. And that cores ones isn't a problem. But it's interesting that like the other one we were using with like code pipeline or code build where it would actually return back data in a failure of JSON data. So there, you can see the inconsistencies with the API here. Great. So now we have a lot more data. Not sure where this gets dumped, but that's fine. And so now what we want to do is check our validation again. So we'll go back over to, well, we actually haven't, I don't know if we wrote the whole thing for it. So we'll go back to CI/CD up here. We'll take a look here. Should have a build stage. That's right. We have the project name. And so with that, we should be able to look into more detailed information here in our CA Central 1. This was for code build right here. So we have, just going down here, code build, batch, get projects underscore underscore, and then it's the name of the project name. And so we can say manifest get output exclamation mark, and then we say code build, or just call it project. And so now we have project details. So we'll go over into our batch over here on the left-hand side, and it iterates through projects. It's only going to ever return one because that's how we've engineered it. So we'll just go here and say project, projects dot first, because there's always only ever going to be one. And we're looking for particular things. So it'd be good to know that the source is using, let's just say project here again. And so we'll say project source type code pipeline. The reason I'm doing that is because when we did it the first time, that wasn't the way the source is set up. It was the other way around. So that way I'll know that if there's something wrong. I mean, we could match it up against the other one to make sure it's the same one, but we do grab it this way through the pipeline name originally anyway, so I don't have to match it up. I don't have to go backwards to match it up. What I want to know is the environment here. So there might be some things in the environment that we care about. The one thing was whether privilege mode is on. That was the thing that I care about, because if privilege mode is on, then that is set up for creating those, creating like whether Linux is on, eh? We could also check these values if we want as well. I don't think it's a bad idea. Log configs. So we'll go over to our networking here. And for our tags, I'll just go grab this. Go back over here. Say project. And we'll go back over to our CI/CD. Going back down below. And, well, not to this one. I meant to the actual data for the tags. So here, and we have tags here. And so notice this one's lowercase, not exactly the same. Tags. We could probably normalize all these values and it would probably be better, but that's not what I'm doing. Anyway, so what I'm looking for is the group. I want it to be Crutter CI/CD. Okay, so there it's going to go a little bit off the rails there. Has expected tag here. The other thing I could have checked was like what runtime it was in, but you know, you could do it in the other runtime. The major thing would be what is in the build spec YAML file, which we don't have access to here. Again, it would be probably in a payload. So like if we went up to here, I mean, it should tell us somewhere where it's coming from. Maybe in like code pipeline, right? Like code pipeline would have the payloads, and then we'd have to download the zip directory. But I'm not going to do that because it could be really large and that could be an issue. So, you know, valid, this will be valid code build for this for now. Something that we could do more advanced checks later on, but that might be a consideration for the sandbox here, because if the files are too large, we might not want to pull them, right? Because that could add up quite a bit quickly, like just the, yeah, how that would work. So we'll say valid code build. And we're not saying valid action up here because we're getting it through the action, so we don't have to do it that way. So found and found a okay, very similar. I'm just going to all right, so I apologize for the grammar. We can always go back again and fix that up. So there's that one. So let's go ahead and run that and see if that works. Rake, rake what? Rake valid date. Pipeline word name is missing. Let's go take a look at, this is up here. Oh, it's expecting it, right? So let's go back over to our validator. It's probably just because we didn't specify that as an input here. This one doesn't have an output. It's just input. And same thing with this one. This one just has an input, not an output. So should have a code pipeline, expect the repo, build, deployer. So and one of the hard ones will probably, not hard, but it'd just be like pulling the data will be annoying, is the ECS one, because in the validator, I couldn't pull that stuff directly the way I thought I would want to. My hotkeys aren't working. We'll just proceed to the next one here. It's giving me a lot of trouble. So we'll go to this one and should have a code build stage. I'll leave the, so this one's going to be, should have a deploy stage. And we'll go over to CI/CD, get down below here. Def should have a deploy stage. All right, we'll go up here. We'll take a look at this line. We'll paste that in here. This is going to take all this. Even if we're not using specific parameters, we're always going to be passing it in. And so for this one, we'll go back and take a look at the code pipeline data here. Okay, and we're looking for a deploy that uses provider as ECS. Right, so there's that. I also kind of wonder if we should be saying like exactly what the cluster name is. Yeah, it depends on a few things. And I don't know if we pulled clusters here. Let's go take a look here. Describe clusters. And it doesn't show tags on that. So to make our life easy, we might just ask for what the cluster name is. So this is not even showing our cluster in here. I think the reason why this happened here was it always returns the default if we don't provide a name. So yeah, the cluster is one where we're going to have to provide a custom function here. So that's something we're going to do. Okay. Cluster name. And I'm going to go up to here. We're going to go into env here. We'll say this will be ECS cluster name. That'll be whatever your cluster is. Mine is called, what did I call mine? I have to go back to pipeline for this. Paste that in like that. We could also try to find it through the, if we didn't want to tell them to explicitly provide the name, what we could do is we could grab it through the CloudFormation template as well. So that could be another way we could do it. I'm very tempted to do that because at the end of the day, if we're going to do Fargate cluster, it's always going to be based on the name of CRUD or cluster anyway. So maybe that's how we'll grab it. I'm going to stop it right here. I got to go make dinner and do some other things, but we almost completed the next one here. But as you can see, it's just going through that list and making sure that we complete it. There are just some sticky parts around ECS, but as we work through this, this will get a lot faster. I just want to go take a look at how many we have to do. So yeah, there's IC, and I don't know if we really need to do anything here because we're kind of doing it all the way through this. This one's going to be tricky. This one's going to be easy, and the rest should be pretty straightforward and simple. Not everything is being managed by CloudFormation, but we will do our best here and just keep going here, okay? So I'll see you in the next one. Say more stuff. Not the best names, but hey, you get the idea, and I'll see you in the next video, okay? Ciao.